Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about 3 tax strategies that you could be using to save money on your taxes. Now, tax planning is so important. Right now is a great time to start thinking about that, to start implementing a few tax strategies. You want to be proactive in saving taxes. If you wait till next year when your tax bill is due, it's going to be a little bit hard to go back in time and make sure that you've done everything to take all of these tax planning strategies. Before I get started, my name is Jenna Andrada. I am licensed through the IRS as an enrolled agent. I specialize in tax law. I help therapists and nurse practitioners in private practice save at on average $10,000 to $15,000 a year using tax planning strategies. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about tax planning. Now, if you have been in business or your private practice, maybe your first, your second year, you probably got a big bill that you honestly did not expect. Getting that large bill is very devastating. Now, the worst thing is that you don't get to reinvest that money, right? You're giving that money to the IRS. You don't get to reinvest it in your business. You don't get to invest it in the stock market if that's what you're into rental properties. More importantly, you don't get to reinvest it into your family, specifically your kids. I myself have a 5-year-old daughter, and it would be devastating for me if I couldn't save for her college or just have some money set aside for her so she doesn't have a difficult time, as she gets older with finances. So that's one reason why I'm a big advocator for tax planning is to save that money, but thinking about, if you're giving the IRS 10, 20, $30,000, I mean, come on, like that's really tough. We don't want to be there. So tax planning is where it's at, guys. A few things you could do to develop a tax strategy. Well, first of all, I recommend working with the tax professional because there are a lot of nuances, a lot of compliance that goes with these tax planning strategies. I do get a lot of people that come to me after they've implemented these strategies, and there's, several things that weren't done correctly, which ends up costing, you extra. So just make sure you at least consult with the tax professional, so you make sure you are compliant, you're doing everything correctly. The 3 tax strategies that we're going to talk about today, let's go ahead and start with the first one. Now, you've probably already heard this one, and this is a very popular one, but it's to hire your kids. You want to, when your kids are old enough, then you are able to hire your child, essentially get a tax deduction, and they get that income tax free. Now, how does that work? When we file our taxes, we have the ability to take a standard deduction or itemized deduction. For single people, the tax deductions are usually around like 12, 13,000. It changes every year, but it's about 12 to 13 thousand, right? So as long as your child is making less than that, then that means that they do not have to pay taxes on that income. Now, the great thing is they're getting paid through your business, right? And it has to be legitimate work. You can't just cut them a check. It has to be, that they're doing legitimate work for your business. Well, you get that business deduction as well. So you get the business deduction, they get the standard deduction, which reduces their tax liability to zero as long as they're not paid more than that 12,000. And then, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much tax-free money. So that's the first one, a very popular one, but there is compliance that you have to deal with. Don't just pay your child, they're employees. So there's payroll taxes and there's all this stuff you have to take care of. So just make sure you're thinking about all of that. The next one I know you've heard of. I know you've heard of because a colleague told you, because you've read about it, especially when you're getting started, you're doing research. A lawyer might have told you this is the thing to do, is to switch to an S Corp. This is a fantastic strategy to use. It does help to save a lot of money. However, there is a time and place to do this. I recommend to wait unless you're going to be very profitable in your first year. Now, I work with therapists and nurse practitioners, psychiatric nurse practitioners, and a lot of the times they already have their clients with their, full-time jobs that they're going to carry over to their private practice. So you might already have a full plate when you start in your practice. And that means that without that middleman, right, without that the employer taking money, or your previous employer taking their half or their portion of it, then that means you're going to take all of it. And the great thing about psychiatric nurse practitioners, about therapists, mental health professionals in private practice is that there's not a lot of expenses. Now, that's important because if you, one, are not taking all the deductions that you can, or two, you are, and there's not a lot of deductions, your profits are going to be high, which sounds great, but you are taxed on the profits of your business. So you pay self-employment taxes, which is your FICA and Medicare taxes, 15.3%. When you're an employee, your employer pays a portion, you pay a portion. It's taken out of your paycheck every pay period. You don't have an employer. You are the employer. So you pay the full amount on top of income taxes. So this is why being a sole proprietorship will cause you to have a huge tax bill. With an S corp, you essentially will become an employee of your business, and you're going to put yourself on payroll. You're going to pay yourself a reasonable compensation, and your FICA and Medicare taxes are going to be capped at your salary. So if you have $100,000 in profits, you're going to pay taxes on $100,000. However, with an S corp, you don't pay self-employment taxes on your profits. You pay it on your salary. So if you have $100,000 in profits, $40,000 of it is a salary. You're only paying $40,000 in salary. So you're pretty much saving 15.3% of $60,000. So it's huge. It's huge. But you want to make sure you're profitable enough to put yourself on payroll, that you're going to have consistent income and the cash flow to pay yourself, because it is one of the requirements to pay a reasonable compensation. Lastly, let's talk about some retirement planning. Retirement planning is very important. I mean, for you to have something in place as you age and as it's time for you to retire, you want to make sure to put your money to work for you, right? When you have a retirement plan, it gets dumped in to a bucket, and essentially that money is being invested in the stocks, bonds, all of that jazz, and then you are making money off of it. You'd contribute 100,000. By the time you're 70, you have 2 million. I don't know. It changes based off of the market and several factors, how aggressive you are, conservative you are with your retirement planning. However, it is a really great way to save money on your taxes right now. Now, if you have a traditional IRA or a SEP IRA, simple IRA for your business, then you can deduct a certain amount off of your tax return. 6,500 is what the retirement caps are for traditional IRAs. I'm just going to stick with that because the other retirement plans are just there's a lot to go through. So let's just stick to traditional. With the traditional IRA, you are able to contribute $6,500 per year, and that is reduced from your taxable income. As a business owner, especially, you have more options than a traditional or just a regular Roth IRA. There's 401ks, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs. There's a lot. So make sure you're speaking with a financial advisor and a tax professional to guide you in what's the best way to maximize your tax savings for that year. So that's just going to be one way. Another way that you are able to control a little bit more of how much you could save on your taxes. So there's so many tax strategies out there. These are just very common ones that I throw out there. You've probably heard of these, but you're probably not heard of more than half of the tax strategies out there. It's really important to consult with a tax professional to get all of this set up for you and make sure you're compliant, like I had mentioned earlier. If this is something you're looking for help with and you want to work with me, then go ahead and schedule a strategy session with me. It's a 15-minute session. It's no obligation. What I do is just get to know you, get to know your business a little bit more, so I could give you an idea of what your investment would be, what things would look like working with me, all of that. So make sure to schedule a strategy session. I have everything listed below. If you're not ready there, you're just kind of getting started, or you're just, you're not ready to work with somebody, then make sure to join my resource library. It's linked down below. In this library, it's fairly new, so you're going to find some things, but as time goes by, I'm continuing to add more and more resources for private practice owners. So make sure to join. It's a lot of really great content, what I have in there so far, and it's just going to get better with time. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe to my channel. That really helps me get my content out there. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. I will talk to you the next time.